Hey guys, what's up? I'm Noah. Welcome to Analog Resurgence, and today I'm going to tell you guys all about the Polaroid SX-70. In case you missed it, the SX-70 was the first truly instant camera, and it introduced to the world the classic Polaroid integral film, which is the white framed image that everybody knows and loves today. Launched in 1972, the SX-70 is a single lens reflex camera, which means that if I look out the viewfinder here, I will actually see what's coming through the lens here. In comparison, a non-reflex camera uses a viewfinder like this that looks out through a little window beside the lens to give you an approximation of what the lens is actually seeing. The brilliant design that attracted people to it was based solely around how cool it was that it could open and close. It could become so compact. So when it's closed, the Polaroid looks like this, small, compact. Now it opens by just pulling the top piece up like this, and then this silver bar slides forward and clicks into place. Now to close it back down again, you just push this bar back and squish it down, and then you're ready to travel with it. Now it can even be closed down with film safely inside. Now let's talk a little bit about the different models that this camera had during its lifespan. Now this is the classic SX-70. With its metal frame and its tan skin, it's the one that's usually the most sought after. Later models of this camera were usually a little bit cheaper in comparison to this first version. The Model 2 traded in this slick metallic frame for a plastic one, which did make it cheaper. And unfortunately, the Model 3s did away entirely with that reflex viewfinder. Instead, it had a viewfinder located right above the lens. The other major version of this camera is the SX-70 sonar. This has a sonar autofocus unit located on the top. And you could find them on 600 cameras, SX-70 cameras, and later the Spectra cameras as well. Now this unit works by actually emitting a sonar pulse that bounces off of the object that's nearest to the camera and back at the disc. As a result, the camera will then adjust the focus on the lens, and then you can take the picture, and it will come out entirely in focus. Now it's not actually a bad system, and it's really interesting for a 1970s style autofocus on instant cameras like these. So in terms of the folding SX-70 models, on the front you would have this red button, which is the shutter button, so you press it down and it will take your picture. Above it you had this dial here, and you would rotate this to manually focus your image. On the other side of the lens was the exposure compensation dial, and you could either overexpose or underexpose your image just slightly. All you had to do is rotate this wheel here. Below that is the actual light sensor, so this is what is actually determining the exposure of your image. This little circular window here will judge how much light there is and then determine the exposure based on that. So you want to make sure that when you're taking your picture, you're not accidentally putting your finger over the circle. Also on the side here, you will see these two little holes. Now these are for old accessories, and you could get a shutter release cable so that you could stand a distance away from the camera and still take a picture. So to insert your new pack of film, all you have to do is open the film compartment. Now this works in a similar way to all Polaroid cameras, and it just has a little switch on the side here. You press it down and the front will drop open. Inside you'll see the standard components, the rollers at the front, which you can clean using some paper towel and some rubbing alcohol, because slowly chemical can build up on these rollers as film is being injected through. And dirty rollers can lead to uneven development and issues with your pictures. And at the very back of the film compartment is the pick arm. The pick arm will help to push the film forward through the rollers once you take a picture. And of course, if you ever buy a camera and the film just isn't ejecting properly, you can get something long like a screwdriver or a chopstick or a knitting needle or anything that you have and just slightly bend that pick arm back down. Now a lot of Polaroid cameras have what are called frog tongues. Frog tongues are this foil-like material that unravels as your film is coming out of the camera. This helps to protect your developing film from the light as soon as it's leaving the camera. So you can see the frog tongue unfurl at the front of the camera as something's coming out of it. Now normal folding SX-70 models do not have these frog tongues. So you'll see if I put something in and it spits it out, it would just sit at the front like that. You can, however, get frog tongues for these folding models, and you can buy these separately and just attach them to the front and they will unfurl like this. I'll throw a link down in the description if any of you guys are looking for one of those frog tongues to add onto your folding SX-70 models. Unlike a lot of other Polaroid cameras, such as the 600 cameras or the Spectra cameras, the SX-70s don't have a built-in flash. So if you are shooting indoors with these cameras, put them on a tripod, or you have to get a separate flash for the camera. Now, in the past, when these cameras were first introduced, the easiest way to get a flash was just to buy one of these disposable flash bars. And they would fit onto the top slot here of any SX-70 camera. The problem though with these flash bars is that they're entirely disposable. So once you take 10 images with 10 flashes, then your bulb is garbage. Luckily though, some companies did make flashes that were reusable and just took AA batteries. You can get ones like these, and they're a little bit bulky and crazy looking. If you're looking for something now that's a little more compact and easier to use, there is a company called Mint that makes a nice little electronic flash bar. Now this flash bar runs off of 3 AAA batteries, and it's about the same size as a normal old school flash bar, so it doesn't take up too much space when you're putting it on the camera. And again, it just fits on any SX-70 model by slipping into the top slot there. Now because Polaroid film was really popular, they did want to make it possible for people to shoot the film even if they couldn't afford these premium versions of the SX-70 cameras. So as a cheaper, affordable equivalent to the folding SX-70 models, Polaroid introduced the famous One-Step. So these One-Steps are just basic versions of SX-70 cameras. They're entirely plastic and just have a few stripped down features. You have the shutter button on the side here like normal cameras, and you still have the exposure compensation dial here, and a lot of them had fixed focus lenses, so you couldn't adjust it yourself. But they do still have this slot on the top here, which means you can use any flash compatible device with that slot. The One-Step is a classic camera, and Polaroid Originals recently made a One-Step 2, which is a newer electronic version of the camera, but that takes 600 and I-type film. These original One-Step models all take SX-70 film. Now, if you're ever in doubt about what kind of film your camera takes for a Polaroid, all of them will say right inside. So we open up the film door with a similar slider like this that will just pop it open. Now at the top here, you can see that it says takes SX-70 film. Other cameras will say take 600 film or take Spectra film. There were literally dozens of different variations of this cute little One-Step. Probably the most famous one is the rainbow model here, but there were other ones, including the Polaroid Pronto, and this had a lens on the front that you could actually turn and manually adjust your focus. And there was also the Sonar Pronto One-Step camera, which included a sonar autofocus unit on the camera. Currently, Polaroid Originals manufactures the Polaroid SX-70 film in both color and black and white. So Polaroid SX-70 film has an ISO of about 160, which is a lower ISO film, so you do need that flash unit on the top if you're shooting in dark situations. Now Polaroid SX-70 film and Polaroid 600 film look almost identical, especially in terms of size. 600 film does have a higher ISO than the SX-70 stuff, so if you do put 600 film in your SX-70, it will overexpose your images, so just be careful. There are of course different little tricks to get the camera to properly expose 600 film if you put it into an SX-70, but just to be safe, you should probably try and stick with the SX-70 stuff first if you're just getting into using the camera. And of course, once you have your camera and you're ready to go, just put in your new pack of film, close the door, it will spit out the dark side. Once you're all loaded up, all you have to do is look through your viewfinder, set the focus of your image, and take your picture. Now, an important thing to remember is that any of the Impossible Project or Polaroid Original film packs only contain 8 photos. The original Polaroid film contained 10 shots in a pack. So all the film counters on Polaroid cameras start at 10 and work their way down as you shoot through a pack. So remember to not get confused when you're looking at your number, because it will always count 2 more than is actually left inside your camera. So always subtract 2 when you're looking at the number that your film counter has. And this will make sure that you don't go to snap a picture and you're a little disappointed when nothing comes out. So there you go, that is the Polaroid SX-70. Whether you're shooting with one of these old school folding models or the later introduced One-Step models, they're all really fun and cool looking cameras that will give you really beautiful results a lot of the time with that SX-70 film. Thank you guys so much for watching, and subscribe if you haven't done so already, as I continue to post all sorts of analog content every week for you guys to check out, from different formats and camera information to all sorts of histories on these formats as well. Thanks, and I'll see you guys soon.